Distribution provided by Cloud Sigma, the cloud that adapts to you. Visit cloudsigma.com/thisweekend for a free $200 credit.
Today, the why and how of it, a design revival retrospective. I'm going to share with you a presentation I did this weekend at AIGA Cincinnati's Design Revival 2012, which I got to tell you was damn amazing conference and retreat hosted by AIGA Cincinnati. Myself, Debbie Millman, David Berman, Malcolm Greer, we were able to have the privilege to hang out with some awesome folk there. Some of them are who are joining us. Stick around, watch us work. Bienvenidos al episodio número 41. Yo soy su host, Jose Caballer, Chief Education Officer of the school. Joining me, as always, is freelance creative director and direct from Venezuela and the Chavez election, Aure Guimon.
Let's not go there.
He won again, dude.
You won it.
Woo! Yeah, viva Chavez. All right, for the Venezuelans in the audience that are offended, I'm sorry. You're doing good, man?
Doing good, man. Just working. Yeah.
Awesome. It's good to see you. So I want to welcome everyone, and the first thing I want to talk about are the three questions I'm going to be asking our guests. What were they hoping to get out of the Design Revival this weekend? What did they get out of the weekend workshops and events that we did? And what was the most unique aspect of the weekend? And keep in mind, guys, for those of you who are watching, I'm doing this as a recap for you, our audience, and also for those who had the opportunity to attend the weekend, and also for the national AIGA community. Some of you are going to say, you know, what the hell is this? This is not the regular show. It is a special episode. So if you want to learn about what designers in the real world do and what they do on weekends especially, stick around and watch us. If not, you know how to change the YouTubes. And also remember that this is not a tutorial show. This is kind of more like the Daily Show meets web design, and it helps you accelerate your web design career by sharing the creative, business, technology, and marketing secrets, the flaky, dorky, obnoxious, and evil secrets of web design. If you're looking for tutorials, please check out some of these great friends, Team Treehouse, lynda.com, and howuniversity.com. The links are right here below. If you're looking for tutorials, that's what you're going to do. Also, I want to remind you guys that this show is not just free on YouTube. We also have to pay the bills. And today, I'm proud to say the show is brought to you by Harvest, where you can easily and accurately track project time with Harvest from anywhere, your web browser, your desktop, or your mobile device. You can track, bill, and send professional-looking invoices to your clients directly from Harvest with one click. So you can start today for free. There's no credit card necessary. 30-day trial if you go to thisweekend.com/harvest, thisweekend.com/harvest. Please help us pay the bills and try it. Just try it. There's only 30 days. The worst that can happen is you don't like it and you go do something else. But I've tried it, and it's actually pretty dang good. All right, so let's get started. So this weekend, I was invited by AIGA Cincinnati to go to their weekend retreat that they have done for the last many years, actually. I think almost 18 years. It's every 2 years, so it's a biannual event. And my goal, which I have here on my screen, was to really share authentically, provoke thought, and inspire action, even though my screen's not coming up. There it is. That was my goal. I really set out to talk a bit about what I'm doing and how can I inspire. But I put together a presentation that I have never done, and I called it the why and how of it. How I learned to embrace my evil side and why that's good. And for those of you who watch the show very frequently, you know that I was talking about the fact that the web design, but in general, even design, is not about the form factor, the actual product, but it's about the why. Why should people care, and how do you actually execute? So I'm going to share with you just a few seconds, or for a minute or two, the presentation or a portion of an excerpt of the presentation that I did to our weekend audience, which was pretty awesome and a lot of fun. So what is it? I talked a little bit about myself, and I showed a lot of my work, and I'm not going to repeat that, but the point I made was that I am a maker. I am a graphic designer. I am a web designer, and I primarily think from the point of view of a maker. You're a maker also, Aure.
Yep.
It's like, and we talk about this all the time, that we're actually focused always on the it.
Yes.
And like whittling it. And everything that I've done and that I'm sharing on the show and on the school is what I have had to do in order to focus on the why and the how. So the kind of thinking about the reasons and the actually executing. And this is my favorite graphic. This is the it right there, the object, the physical shape. And we do a lot of it. We make different things, whether it be print, whether it be web, whether it be apps. What do you work on, Aure, right now?
Mostly mobile apps, yeah.
You're working mostly, so your it is mobile apps right now.
Yes.
And one of the things that I talked about that is really important conceptually and for me as a philosophical framework is that the 20th century was ruled by these guys, that, primarily the business drivers had been what I call, not to sound all Chavez-like, but, I am wearing a green jacket today, what I call the momentum of business models. So, or business model inertia, which kind of basically is driven by spreadsheets. That's what's driven the 20th century. And here's a result that we've had from that, which is a lot of strife, the financial crisis, this wholesale shift away from a industrial economy into a knowledge economy, with the web being a big part of that. One of the things I also shared was that graphic design, and those of you who are building websites specifically for clients that are marketing oriented, graphic design and originally it was artists making promotional materials for industrial concerns that needed to sell more product because now they were, doing it at an industrial scale. So really, ultimately, our heritage is one of being part of the output or the end result of industrialization. And that obviously has resulted in a huge amount of strife for the earth and resource depletion and environmental damage. And you guys all know the drill. And in this case scenario, early, obviously, earlier this decade, the financial crisis, which in a way was financial folks telling us something like this. So I went into the why and talked about how can we align our collective interest and the collective goals for the conference, but in general. I also went into the why as to the collaboration being difficult. This quote from Fast Company that many of you have seen. This is the show's theme that you guys hear every week. And the differences in language is what we're trying to solve here. Talked about assessing yourself before you wreck yourself, which you guys can do at theschoolrocks.com with the FIDO assessment. And talked about also execution, with which many of you on the show know as agile project management and the ability to iterate. And I also talked about the School OS, which is the beginning of figuring out why you're doing something and the different tools that the School OS offers. So finally, the thing that I shared that I haven't shared, and I shared for the first time probably that same week, on Monday of last week, with an audience at Art Center College of Design. One of the reasons why I'm doing the school, one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I actually come from a heritage or a legacy of education. My grandmother was an educator. She started 2 schools in the Dominican Republic. This is one of them, and this is her right there, Doña Porfiria Perez. And I'm committed to, and I promise to help them build technology infrastructure. And I took computers down there earlier last year, and I took a little bit of money, what I could offer them, to $500, dude. $500
goes a long way over there.
2 kids go through school for 1 year
Jesus.
for $500. Wow. So the continuation of this, and I want you guys to join me in this as we go through this final season for the holidays and also in the new year. And finally, this quote from Daniel Pink's book, A Whole New Mind: "The last few decades have belonged to the computer programmers who would crank codes, MBAs, the number crunchers and MBAs. Yeah. The future belongs to creators, designers, storytellers, caregivers, big picture thinkers. We will reap society's richest rewards and share its greatest joys." If you haven't read A Whole New Mind, you should. And with that, I'll wrap that up and we'll go to our guest. So, Aure, what do you think? Was that an awesome conference?
Fantastic.
It was a revival. We felt the spirit, and there were snakes. No, there were no snakes.
Snakes?
All right, let's move on. Don't lie to people. There were no snakes. So joining me today are 3 amazing people that I'm going to introduce to you guys, and I want them to talk to you guys about themselves a little bit and what they do. And I want to start with you, Mark. Mark Thomas, who's the chair of the design department at Art Academy of Cincinnati. Mark, welcome.
Thank you so much, and thanks for devoting this show to our design revival.
My pleasure. Can you introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and what did you want to get out of this weekend at the revival?
Yeah, sure. My primary job is a design educator. I'm a faculty member at the Art Academy of Cincinnati. I've been teaching for over 25 years, and it's my passion. I love to do that, and I also am the president of AIGA Cincinnati, co-president actually. And the other thing that I'm involved in is textbook writing. I've authored 4 design textbooks for 10-gauge publishing, and currently working on a book right now on integrating design.
Awesome, and you gave me a lot of great ideas, and it was great to learn from you about specifically the magic of publishing in the education space. You know, you, as a president or as a co-president of the chapter for AIGA Cincinnati, you know, what were you hoping to accomplish with this year's revival, and what was your wildest, your deity of choice came down from the sky and gave you everything you wanted this weekend?
Yeah, sure. Well, the whole goal of this conference, which is different from many, is that we try to present the conference in a more intimate setting where you spend the whole weekend with all of the participants, including the speakers, and so as a result of that, you get to know everyone at a different level. My hope was to get. I always go to these things with selfish intentions, of course, but I was interested in ideas that I could bring back, share with my students, incorporate into my textbooks, talk to my colleagues, and my friends and associates that work with AIGA Cincinnati on how to make it better, how to gauge where we are going with design. We learned a lot about that this weekend. David Berman was so articulate in showing us that we're in this transition period right now, trying to adapt from what you were talking about, the it, toward the why, from a industrial kind of economy to one that's based more on knowledge and user experience and the kind of things that you do with your web design practice all the time, learning how the user thinks, how they interact, how they adapt, and then how to create engaging products for them. So it was ideas, but it was also about collaboration, getting together with 25, 30, 40 different designers' minds in the same room was an incredible experience. As we were able to see, we did so many different kinds of activities and solved a few problems together too. At maybe we'll be able to get into that later.
I mean, and you mentioned earlier that you come with selfish intentions, which I understand. And what, if anything, if there was one thing that you got out of the conference or out of the revival this weekend that you're able to today and this week and in the week subsequent to this take advantage of for your practice, for you as a chair of a department, where you can really tangibly benefit from it, what do you think? Just one thing.
I would say it's how amazed I always am at the range of the creative range of people in design. It seems like we cover so many different facets of our culture, culturally, socially, and I think our little microcosm this weekend reassured me that was the case. That I felt like we were in this room, we were actually working on a problem together, and I thought that we could solve any problem with that group of people this weekend. Give us the problem, we'll do it, and we'll use design thinking to do it.
So there was a sense of possibility with the people that were in the room that was very palpable, which I completely agree.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a great thing to take away from a weekend like this. The ability that together we can really actually exert a lot of change because of our ability to think as designers and as problem solvers. Thank you for sharing that.
Certainly.
So I'm going to actually go to Lauren. And Lauren, you work at LPK, which is a design agency in Cincinnati. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you go to school? Well, your name, what you do, and where did you go to school?
Well, thanks so much for having me. I am Lauren May, and I went to school at SCAD, which is down in Savannah, Georgia, Savannah College of Art and Design. And I currently work at LPK now. And I think what I took away from the design revival was just the fact that working in an agency in a city, as most people know, you kind of live within the four walls, and you're not really able to kind of get out of that and really meet people who are in the same city as you and same community as you and really collaborate with them as much. So it was great to get out of our element, out of our routine, and collaborate with each other, talk with each other, get to know each other, and really discuss what design is right now and how we can benefit from it and contribute to it.
So you were hoping to get out of the comfort zone, get into an environment where ideas were, Aure, and you work a lot, as a freelancer and as a very prolific designer in the digital space. how do you deal with the issue that you got to be heads down, like working with your, on your own?
Right. I mean,
What do you do to, kind of get out of your own?
Meetups. I go to meetups a lot, and the show is a great opportunity to just get away from the computer and talk to people, and not be, just heads down producing all the time. But I'd say meetups, and particularly ones where I can talk to people, from the other quadrants of the, not
Of the
necessarily
Fido?
of
So
the
like
Fido.
dorkies, evils.
Dorkies,
That's
evils,
interesting.
yeah. I
So
like
you're
that a lot.
dorky, flaky. I think so, right?
Yes.
And me and you have talked a lot about on this show about getting out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And how obviously we work together for many years, and
Yeah.
it's obviously a great relationship because I'm obnoxious, flaky, or
Right.
flaky, obnoxious, and had the ability to do that. But you're doing it now.
Right.
You have been baptized by the spirit of flakiness. Wait, no, of no, of obnoxiousness, and now you go out and you
Yes.
do the meetings and the meetups. Is it uncomfortable?
It is a little bit, but it's feeling outside of your comfort zone and feeling like you're constantly being pushed is a good thing, in my opinion. I think that it happens to me not only in meetups, for example, but I'm also seeking projects where I'm collaborating with folks that are speaking other languages, right? They're speaking strategy and they're talking business. And, sometimes you're sitting in the room like, I have no idea what the beep they're talking about.
Right.
But you're exposed to it, and it's good. It also helps you understand the process as a whole and not get stuck so much within that one area of expertise that you dominate.
That's a really important thing. So you just basically, fake it till you make it if
Yeah,
you don't
it's
understand
kinda like-
something.
it's good to be
specific.
exposed
It's
to
good
it.
to be exposed to
Yeah.
that. Well, thank you for sharing that. And what helps in those meetups sometimes, maybe a little beer here and there.
Totally. You get chatty with people, you start asking them about what they do and this and that. And so it's really good, learn about especially their challenges,
You ask them, what are your challenges?
Definitely.
Nice. That's a good technique. And you can see here on my screen, I have some pictures from Facebook from the revival. And as you can see, beer was part of what helped, the revival. And nature. It was beer and nature. And it was a lot of fun. Here's some pictures actually from my presentation. And it was a beautiful location in Kentucky, in Shakerville, Kentucky. Here's Malcolm Greer presenting beautiful work. We had a really cool, I have never done a panel this cool. It was outside on rocking chairs. I wanted a tobacco pipe and a stick to whittle, and unfortunately I had neither, but we did a really great poop. That was one big theme. You know how I say at the beginning of all the brainstorming sessions?
Right, like don't censor yourself.
You can don't censor yourself. And poop,
Right.
poop became a theme of the weekend. I'm really thinking this right here could be a great T-shirt.
Nice lettering work, too.
It's what?
Nice lettering work.
Very nice lettering work. And here, look at that. Look at that panel. That's pretty dang
Wow, that looks
amazing.
great.
And we did a boat ride, this is like yearbook. Look at that. And you know what? The thing that touched me the most and what I really enjoyed the most about the weekend, aside from the fact that I really got to enjoy myself, and look at that, you can pet some goats. I didn't pet any goats. I'm not sure. I missed the goats. There's Mark right there in the front in the workshop. Actually, this was, I think, the storytelling workshop, and you can see me there in the back by Debbie Millman, who was former AIJ national president. I loved that workshop. I felt like a little kid. For
Nice.
2 hours, I actually got to do some drawing. Well, I built something actually specifically. But the point, and the reason I'm showing these pictures to our audience and to those of you who might be asking, yeah, Jose, thanks for spending the time, sharing the fun stuff you do on weekends. Well, I want you guys to understand that for us as creatives and for us as developers and for us as strategists, one of the critical things that requires us to get outside of our comfort zone and go meet people and go interact and go learn. It's really getting out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And you just said it really well there. Whoa, that's a creepy tree.
It's got like a
and there's some cows. That was my picture.
Nice.
Well, if you come back to me, I want to talk a little bit to Lauren again. Lauren, one final question. And Mark said that he got out of it, very specifically, the one thing is the diversity of, the different types of people and the power that we have to actually manifest change when we get together. For you, what did you get out of this weekend? What was something that you found fulfilling for you?
I think there were two things. I think the first thing was that, especially from Debbie Millman's talk, she was so honest about herself, and she had this beautiful vulnerability about her. And I think so many people are so afraid to show their true, honest self. And so I think just the nature setting and just the intimate feel of the whole conference allowed people to not only get out of their comfort zone, but once they got out of their comfort zone, it was like, okay, I'm just going to be real for a second, and I'm just going to just share it all out there. And I think that was a really beautiful moment for not only for everyone to do, but also for the speakers to do and to talk to the speakers about it. I think that that's really cool. And I think the second thing is what Mark said. I was fortunate to kind of hold a workshop with AIGA Design for Good, and we had presented a problem in Cincinnati about local food and trying to get people engaged with that. And through that workshop, I noticed so many minds coming together and really collaborating when we didn't really know each other very well, but we set for a cause and we talked about it, and everyone just kind of went full force into it and really created some beautiful, awesome ideas that we're going to take back and really make happen. So again, I think it's getting out of your comfort zone. That's the only way that you can really grow. And through that growth, you're able to really show your true self to other people and have a great connection and meaningful connection with others through that.
Awesome. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And on the way back on the plane, I sat next to a girl from a 22-year-old from who was in college at Pepperdine. Her name was Sarah, and she was telling me about what she's studying and what she wants to do that has to do with sustainability, et cetera. And I told her about Design for Good and what AIGA is doing, and she's like, "Oh my God, wow! Why don't we have that at our university?" So in a way, we're lucky to have AIGA as an organization who set that as a national agenda in our practice. So she's about to graduate in a year or two from Pepperdine here in Malibu, and she didn't have the same context. And hopefully, by us reaching out to a broader audience in our communities, we can begin to enroll the different type of other disciplines, like Aure was saying, into what we're working on and what we're doing, and show them the leadership that we as designers, not just web designers, but user experience designers, print designers, packaging designers, whatever our design discipline might be, product designers, can have the leadership that we can have within our greater community. So thank you for sharing that so much. And last but not least, I want to have Alexandria share a little bit with us. And Alexandra, we shared a special kinship. We were one out of 3 or 4 Latin folks at the event. And you're from Peru, if I'm correct. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you work? And what were you hoping to get out of this weekend?
Well, I work at Canet Advertising. I'm creative director. I am from Peru. I'm from Lima, and I had my education here in the States, my art education. I was really going with an open mind. I knew that, I hadn't been in any of the AGA retreats, haven't lived in the area very long, and I was pleasantly surprised. The quality of speakers, it was incredible, and definitely getting out of your comfort zone and being basically disconnected from the outside world and being able to focus and to share ideas and collaborate. It was a great experience, much, much more than what I ever expected.
So you really wanted, and that's something that is a theme, which is the idea of getting disconnected. And I had a bit of a hard time the first day or so getting offline, and after that I got used to it and I turned off my phone, and it was really nice to not be connected. So you, what did you get out of it ultimately? Like, what do you feel you walked away with from the weekend?
With so many ideas, David Millman's speech, what Lauren said, being able to be honest with yourself, to it's not just about design, but about your, personal growth in this career. And well, the responsibility that ultimately we have with our profession and what power we have through the things we do.
So real quick, I have someone from Australia who's asking me the question, "Hey, mate, if you have some time, can you give me an example of how and why, please?" So Joe Bolton, who's a longtime viewer, and we work together a lot on the different things that Joe's doing in Australia, who, by the way, is not a designer, but who's well, you are a designer, Joe. I got to stop saying that. What the fuck? Wait, jar. Bam. Joe is a designer. He's not only a designer, he's an entrepreneur. He's building his business and doing an amazing job at designing the things that he's working on. And Joe, I know you're watching live now. The how the why is what I told you on Facebook yesterday is why do your customers buy from you? It is not necessarily for, the barbecue products and the mail products that you design, the mailboxes that are, by the way, extremely designerly comparative to anything available in the United States. I have this kind of perception that in Australia everything is really nicely designed for some reason, which I might be right, or at least what I see on TV. But the why is the reason why you do it and why your customers are attracted to your product. And for example, when I showed here during this presentation, the whole reason for me doing this school is coming from it's in my DNA. Education is in my DNA. So my dad was a minister, so here I am every week on the interwebs preaching the word of web design. So why what I'm trying to do, Joe, is that comes out in the design that you're doing. That you're not mimicking or mirroring contemporary design, choosing the right fonts, having the right layout, but without that extra I call it that extra bit of a uniqueness that comes through in something that somebody really thought about. The why, the how, you're fairly familiar, is the idea of execution through iteration and through improvement. You're doing it right now. You're doing it in your development of your brand. You're iterating. You're asking questions. You're doing it exactly the right way. You're putting it on Facebook, letting other people comment, letting me comment. You're letting me review it on the show. That's right there, the how. So hopefully that answers the why and the how. We can work together with the how. The first thing you can do is the brand attributes exercise, which you know fairly well or should know. I don't think you're a member of the school, Joe, which is another issue, that it might actually help you to go through all the exercises by being a member of the school. So I want to switch back to our guest and one by one, go through, and we'll start with you again, Mark. I've been doing the show now. It's going to be 100 episodes at the end of this month. So in about 8 episodes or 9 episodes, if I do my math right, we're going to be at the 100th episode. You're an educator. You have students. If you were to represent an entire department, obviously, actually, not only just students as a teacher, an entire school or department, what could I do for your students and for you with this show for next year, for our next season?
The great thing overall that goes on, and I was able to preview the show before the Design Revival when I learned that you were going to be a guest, and just the way that designers like you and David put complicated ideas together in a succinct way to explain them in succinct terms is really valuable to students. I think they're busy. A lot of students are taking heavy load of school classes, plus working, plus everything else that they have going on in their lives. I think they appreciate an educator's ability to take the complexity of what we do in our field, for example, and make them very understandable and again succinct. Not that we dummy them down, but that we present them like you did with your profile, which helped. I always knew that sort of intuitively what you were talking about. But to be able to look at yourself and say, here's where my strengths are, here's where my weaknesses are, and if I'm going to make a go at a startup, or if I'm going to go out there and be a freelancer or whatever, I know what type of people I need to rely on. That's valuable information. You can learn how to do a lot of things. And one of our philosophies at the school I teach at is we give students problems, and most of the times they figure out what the best tools are. To go over and over and over the tools is, can be helpful, but I think what's more important is to, answer the why question, as you were talking about earlier.
But you brought up a good point. You brought up the point of assessing yourself, knowing what your strengths are, which is something that I think has helped Aure and I a lot. Definitely. And in the relationship, not only our relationship working together, but our relationship with clients and the whole ecosystem. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Simplification is what I'm taking away from what you're saying, making it accessible to those of us who are busy, who might be a bit overwhelmed. And you can actually download the FIDO assessment from theschoolrocks.com, which is right there on the homepage. You click right here on the little download button, and it'll download it for you. It's a PDF version. We just Daniel, one of our viewers in Australia, also just helped me build an online version of that. We're going to be releasing it soon. So the same question, or slightly different for you, Leanne. What would you say you took away from the weekend that you would like to see more on the show or from me? How can I help, especially at LPK, which you work at? How can I help you with your next steps in your career?
That's a good question.
And I sprung it on you guys because that question wasn't in the official questions, so sorry about that.
No, I mean, something that I'm really passionate about is, like I mentioned before, is design for good. And I am not just talking about nonprofits and all of that. I'm really talking about how we can use design thinking to better our community. And, I think that I would love to kind of see what's going on in other communities, like what has been done in the past, what are the issues that are going on.
Interesting.
Things like that.
So take note of that, Tatiana. So simplification or continued simplification for Mark. What we're talking about here is really important, and it's actually share. So basically, you're saying, can we share the experiences of other AIGA chapters? For example, Art Center College of Design here has a great Design for Good program. What are they doing? So if I can bring on,
Absolutely.
and maybe we can have an episode of Design for Good and have you back and have different people that are doing different efforts, share their efforts and what they're doing. Would that be something
absolutely.
cool?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think that's what we need. We know that design thinking can help to better our community. We know that. Now, how? How do we do it? How do we execute that? Because that is, I think, the biggest challenge I think a lot of groups throughout the country are facing. So if we could share that knowledge, if we can share our experiences, we can share our challenges, that I think will help us all to kind of move forward in the direction of design for good. Interesting.
I love that idea. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, and thank you for being on the show today. I know you guys are busy. This is the agency, LPK. I have it on my screen here. LPK, Building Leadership and Brands. Pretty awesome. Cincinnati, I got to say, I didn't make it to the city proper. I was in Kentucky the whole time I was there, but just from seeing it from far away and from meeting you guys, such an awesome city, and I can't wait to be back. Hopefully you guys will invite me back to do something over there at some point soon. Thank you again for being here. And Alexandra, last but not least, what can I do for you? What really, ultimately, forget about what I can do for you. Is there anything you took away from this weekend that you felt that you probably wouldn't have taken away from any other type of conference?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's starting, with building relationships with other people and getting out and meeting, other designers and other professionals. The how do we take on the responsibility, and then realizing that as designers, we have a huge responsibility to change our cultures and change our societies for better. We have the power to do that. That was, a great experience for me. How in my background, in Latin America, we face such huge challenges too. And how can I do something in a small part to, help our culture as well?
So you walked away with empowerment. And Aure, all three of us, here in the conversation, but you and I were from Latin America.
Yeah.
Have you ever wanted to do something back home?
Definitely.
Aside from deposing Chavez, which is not part of this show's agenda and we cannot get into, unless anybody has money out there who wants to donate it so that we can get a boat and some weapons, but
hey,
you're considering it. No, that didn't work with Cuba. So no politics on the show. That's what we just did it, but okay.
It's okay.
What do you think about that idea of being able to contribute back as a designer? Do you feel that there's sufficient empowerment or that we're empowered enough?
I think so. I think we can definitely go back and, there's definitely a lot that we can do. You're doing it already, right, with the school that's there. I think if you get, especially a good process in place that you can share with folks.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think if you get just a good sense of the market as it stands right now, and you can figure out how to leverage these resources that are there. I mean, I think there's a lot to be done. We've talked about it a couple times.
So teaching the how, would you come down to Dominican Republic with me next year?
Absolutely.
And do a, would you guys be willing to come down to the Dominican Republic with me to do a whatever we want to call it, a how drop? Like, we're going to teach you how. That sounds awful.
Heck yes.
Absolutely.
Poop. It sounds like poop, like drop. No. But that would be awesome to have you guys. Well, thank you, Alexandra. Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, Lauren, so much for being here today and for taking the time out of your busy schedules. And thank you for having me this weekend. I myself had not only an amazing time, so much fun, and of course, what happens in Kentucky stays in Kentucky.
That's right.
But I really, really, really appreciate the opportunity to just get to know you guys and to share with you guys. So thank you for being on the show today. For those of you who want to experience, actually near the experience, it's not going to be the same because it's 500 people and it's a little bit bigger and it's an interactive conference focused on interactivity. Please join me at the end of this month on the 29th and the 31st, if you can bring the title card up, in San Francisco, October 29th through the 31st for the How Interactive Design Conference. I opened the DC conference, and you guys should read the reviews of the DC conference. It was awesome. A girl told me I should quit design and become a stand-up comic.
That's cool.
Which I was either offended by because I thought she was telling me I sucked as a designer, or that I was funny, one of the two. But it was a really amazing experience in DC. I'm hoping to really enjoy the experience also in San Francisco. There's very little time to sign up. You can use my name, JOSC, to get a discount. So not only can you go to San Francisco and do it, is it worth the money? Is it worth the however much? I don't know how much the tickets cost, but you can check out on the website. You know, I think it's priceless, the ability to meet with people. I'm actually going to be doing lunches on the second and third day of the conference, where I did it in D.C. It was impromptu, ad hoc via Twitter, but now I'm going to officially say it here on air. And when I get there at the beginning, if you want to have lunch with me, it's a moderated lunch. And the agenda for the lunch is to get to know you, see what your obstacles and your challenges are and what you're doing in your businesses. A lot of people from government in D.C. I know there's going to be a lot of people from agencies in San Francisco and from across the West, and some people coming from the East Coast and missed the East Coast Conference, and really just work on your specific problems just by having us share experiences, and not me, but your peers share experiences. A woman told me actually during the second lunch, which, by the way, I missed my flight because I did that second lunch, but that's okay. I ate it out. I totally got into the lunch and into hanging out with people, and by the time my alarm went off, oh, I'm supposed to be on a plane. Sorry, I got to go. But anyway, a woman said that lunch was worth the price of attending because she actually got to connect with other people that helped her with her with her issues. And continuing the tour, if we can bring up that title card, the Jose's U.S. Tour of Awesomeness, which now that looks really obnoxious. But the last two stops of the tour, one is going to be in the middle of this month, coming up about starting movements. So you're talking about Design for Good. This is actually a workshop in Santa Cruz during Tech Raising, which is an awesome event. Think of it as a hackathon for the weekend. We're going to be doing some really I'm going to be doing all three workshops, but in little mini sessions, like 1 hour sessions throughout the weekend, helping the teams that are building startups for good during that weekend. And finally, of course, the How Conference, which I just mentioned. But if you can't make it to any of those things and you're saying, oh, crap, how can we take advantage of, the ability to learn? And Mark brought this up, simplification. From listening to you guys at the How Conference, I really thought that what makes a lot of sense is to do something for you guys, and I'm doing it on the 11th, which is this Thursday. So you're probably going to be watching this on Wednesday. So that means that tomorrow, if you're watching this on YouTube or on iTunes, Managing Complex Web Projects, if we can bring up that title card. It's the name. It's a webinar. It's a free 1 hour webinar. Free. So go to the schoolrocks.com and sign up for the free webinar. And all of you know how complex some projects can be. I have my website up here on my screen if you bring it up, and you have to just click here on this little Learn More tab, and what it's going to do, it's going to go to the GoToMeeting webinar product, the sign-up page, Managing Complex Web Projects. It's completely free. Just put in your name, how did you hear about the webinar, and why did you sign up, and what you're hoping to get out of it, and just join me for an hour. I'm going to share with you all the tools that you see me sharing on the show. If you don't have the opportunity to go in person to Tech Raising, which is in Santa Cruz, if you're in Santa Cruz, this an upcoming weekend, the 18th, or if you can't go to San Francisco, just join me this Thursday, tomorrow, or in 2 days if you're watching right now live. So again, Thursday of this week. What's the date? What's the date Thursday? The 11th. It's Thursday the 11th. Ari, you want to be on there?
Sure.
Yeah, it's just 1 hour.
Sounds good.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
I really want to say thank you to Harvest, Rod here. I want to thank also the people that make this show possible. Don't forget to go to the free trial thisweekend.com/harvest, thisweekend.com/harvest. But also the people who make the show possible, who work on the show, what Harvest pays for. Jason Calacanis, the boss who owns the network, myself, the host, Ari Gimon, Brandis, who's a tech goddess and is out here right now working on making this show possible for you guys. Jesse Mills, who is a TriCaster superhero and works on it. Good call. No, I'm not going to do that. Just the webinar. Michelle Wong, who just told me that I might be forgetting something, who is our producer ninja and content ninja, and who without this show, you would have no graphics, you would have no teleprompter. Sophia, who's the wrangler, who makes sure that we're on time and in the right place, and Jennifer Boyd, who does our makeup. Thank you guys so much. And Ari, anything to tell folks? What are you working on? Just to wrap up.
Just a lot of collaborative projects, which goes back to just being in a room with a lot of people who speak dorky and obnoxious and evil, and it's good to be exposed to that.
And you work with startups. You work with you're in a niche that's super hardcore. Yeah. And a lot of the work that you've gotten from going out there and being at
just meeting people. And it's what you said earlier, right? Like just every time that I've been like, well, I actually need to work. I don't want to go to this thing. I go, and something really interesting comes out of it. So just get out there and meet people, because amazing opportunities will come from it.
Amen to that. And again, I want to thank my guests. If you guys can bring them up each one at a time and say goodbye. Bye, Mark. Thank you. See you soon in Cincinnati.
Pleasure.
Bye, Alexandra.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And Leon, thank you so much for being here today. Next week, please join us again at the same time in the same channel, live on Justin TV. You can see right here the times and the hours with the little puppet on the side somewhere. There you go. You can join us live, or you can watch it archived on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, and if you can do me a favor, go to Facebook and like the show. That would be really great. You can also see some of the pictures from Cincinnati, from AIGA Design Revival. Twitter, follow us on Twitter. All of that is down below. You can follow Ari. You can follow me in the YouTubes. Is down below, or at thisweekinwebdesign.com, thisweekinwebdesign.com, which is the URL. Thank you guys again. We will see you next week when you watch us work.